good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're coming in from. I'm Jen Whitmer, and welcome to Monday Mentor. Every week, I bring on a great guest, and we share a little bit to help you become a better leader and help your team so everybody can do powerful and connected work. And today, you guys, I'm so excited. I adore this human so much. I could spend our entire show talking about how much I adore Sally Z. But the reason that matters to you is because Sally is an award-winning speaker, a longtime speaker coach. She has worked with high-power executives and entrepreneurs to help them grow their message and become the speaker that everybody wants to listen to, not the one that just goes through PowerPoint slides, because haven't we all been through the death by PowerPoint slides? We don't want that. That's not what we're doing here today. And so Sally is here today to help us know why great leaders are really also speakers. So welcome, Sally.
Hi. So excited to be here, Jen.
I am so glad that you are here today. So I always like to start with a little, clearly I know you well, but the people may not know you well. The people. So tell us a little bit about how you got here. How did you become an award-winning speaker and then speaker coach? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes. So, I mean, from a pretty young age, I got that little feeling in my stomach where I was like, I kind of like being out in front, which I know is not the story for everyone. But for me, I fell in love with the stage pretty young. So I did theater, I did speech in high school, and then I found myself working for this amazing national youth serving organization out talking to teenagers about these big ideas that they don't naturally care about, and like kindness and courage and respect, and they care about it, but trying to get them to engage in these ideas are not necessarily an easy automatic thing. And so I was out speaking to them 4 or 5 times a week, traveled all over the country to do it, and learned really quickly and in a very humbling fashion what does and what does not work in terms of speaking. And oftentimes when I tell people that, they're like, I know, but teenagers, that are different from adults. Teenagers are purely adults without a filter. And
as we both live with multiple teenagers, we can attest.
And if you have teenagers at home, you know this is true. So I learned really quickly how to do this in an engaging, compelling, authentic way. And that word is really, really key, because what's so wonderful about teenagers is they have a really high standard. They're not going to just listen to anybody. And so I really had to train myself, not just on all of the skills that I had learned and was really, really, really benefited from as somebody who did high school speech and, did all of the things to learn the skills of it. It was like, then how do you take that to the next level? How do you not just go beyond, I'm doing it the way I'm supposed to do it, to I'm doing it in a way that connects and moves your audience? And so that really became my mission. And luckily, I was surrounded by some amazing leaders who kept tapping me on the shoulder, would hand my name off to other people. And lo and behold, before I knew it, I had my own business as a speaker coach. I was like, I'm living the dream.
And you have helped some really amazing people get their message across in some very prestigious and high-powered companies, and as well as people who want to share their moving message on smaller stages and spaces as well. So before we launch into kind of the questions I have, I'm kind of curious, if you're watching, if you are here live, let us know that you're here live. If you're watching the replay, let us know that too. If public speaking is something that's really scary for you, or like, ooh, I kind of maybe, or you're like, oh no, put me in, coach, I'm ready to grab the mic. Like, just where are you in that idea of getting up in front of people and sharing a message? So,
but Jen, can I say something?
Absolutely.
As that? Because I think one of the myths, I love demystifying public speaking for people, because people bring a lot of feelings into this arena because it is vulnerable.
Mm.
It should be vulnerable. It should feel risky. It should make you a little nervous. So a lot of times people enter into this situation and they're like, I hate it because I feel nervous, because I have this adrenaline response. And they're like, and so that must mean that I don't belong in that power position, or I'm not a speaker because I feel nervous. And I just want you to know, I've been doing this for a really long time. And when I was standing backstage of my TEDx talk, I was like, whew, holy cow. Like it felt like a high stakes moment that really tested me. And so it happens to all of us. So I just want to put that out there that if you feel nervous and you think that that means you can't do this or aren't worthy of the moment of what is truly possible through speaking, I just want to throw that out there right away.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's so good. I mean, like Kimberly has asked a great question, which we will get to, Kimberly, but she's saying, as an introvert, sometimes that's not natural. It feels unnatural. And there are extroverts where it feels unnatural too. But
what is that natural thing? I mean, speaking is a fake situation that we're trying to make look natural. So let's just embrace that. That the more you do it, the more natural it starts to feel. But it's not a natural experience. It is artificial in so many ways, but we have to find our own self in that situation so that we can find the comfort and the ability to connect with the people who are right in front of you. But it isn't natural. It's a weird thing. And it just takes us a while to find our comfort and find our voice and find our own way with it.
Right. Absolutely. And that's one of the things I've so learned from you is that speaking, you can't speak like somebody else because you're not them on the stage.
Yeah.
You have to be who you are. And then that's what brings connection to the audience. Like, oh, I'm connecting because I'm me, not trying to be somebody else. Yeah. So I kind of want to, as you are so great at demystifying speaking, I think some people automatically see speaking as, Madonna mic, auditorium, like, oh my gosh, this is public speaking. Yeah. What are some of the ways that you see leaders speaking that they might not think, oh yeah, that's speaking, that are really powerful?
Yeah. Well, when I'm out, I do lots of training and workshops and speaking myself to other leaders who want to do speaking or know that they have to do speaking. And I talk about the same concepts, the same approach, whether you are standing in your conference room leading a meeting, or you are in a situation like this, you're doing a social media, LinkedIn Live, or you're on a podcast, or you're on a stage, or you're leading a training yourself internally or externally. In my mind, if it's you and like more than one person, you are in a speaking moment. And honestly, a lot of the same concepts apply if you're doing one-on-one as well. But as soon as it's one to many, that is a speaking opportunity. Mm-hmm. And the way that you take advantage of those moments can be so transformative for you as a leader, not just for you and like your own career development, but also for the people that you lead and the people that you're talking to. So to me, speaking is this very broad umbrella concept. And, it's not just for the people who want to be speakers and want to be keynote speakers and want to, have that be their only source of revenue. It's like, no, we should all be embracing this concept of speaking because the opportunities are around you all the time.
Yeah. Well, so let's just talk a little bit about that. Of like, I think of that old adage that not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers.
Yeah.
So, that idea. Sorry, I went back to like geometry logic there. But when you think about that as a leader in an organization or a leader of a team, or even if you're leading your own small business, why is speaking so important of a skill to develop? What's the value of that?
Okay, so I think of this in two ways. I think of it as like the external value, of course, like the value of your career growth. Like we see people who are good at speaking, who embrace those opportunities, who step into the opportunities that are given to them like that, those are leaders, and we see them that way for sure. And so there's a ton of external value for the people you're talking to, externally for you in your career development and growth as a leader. But more importantly, I like to think of the internal value of stepping into leadership, because the process of speaking is a process of self-growth. It's a process of personal development, because it challenges you in some really tangible ways. Like you are literally standing on your feet to say something, or using your body to say something. It is, you're making it real in that way. So when we talk about leaders need to stand for something, you're actually doing the thing. And so it's a test in a lot of ways of like, what am I willing to stand up and say?
Yeah.
What is my perspective? What is my point of view? What do I want to lead on? How do I do this in a way that engages and compels and pulls people in for me to lead? So it is leadership in action when done well. So we cannot, like, if you want to be a better leader, you have to also work on being a better speaker.
Yeah. Well, and Shelby is saying social media makes this skill so important because we have to have a perspective. We have to have a point of view. And we were in, Shelby and I were in another, I think Kim might've been there too. We were talking about spiky opinions and having spiky opinions. And I think one of the things that for me as a speaker, when I have to get up in front of a group, I can't I'm a pretty good winging it. But if I have to have some clarity around what is my point of view, the process of getting up in front and saying, here's what I think and believe, and here is where we are going, is so clarifying for me. So that's that internal piece. And if we want to share that message externally, we have to have a clear point of view. There's so many people. There's so many people out here. Like Shelby's like, social media, it's so important. Everybody's kind of doing this thing. And when you can stand up with clarity and a point of view, people are like, like there's a lean in factor to that I have discovered. And so I'm kind of curious, how do you help people develop that? Like Kim's question earlier was, what are some principles that transcend different audiences? And I think these two kind of tie together.
Yeah. Well, let me speak to this shift that you're talking about, from just the way I think of it as we are not just experts. Okay. It's not just that you know something, but real speakers take a leadership point of view. You might call them thought leaders, right? People like that.
Yes, we do. We call them thought leaders.
I love that phrase.
I'm growing. It's growing on me.
Good, because that's what we need to become, not just as a leader, but also speakers. A speaker without a point of view, without a perspective, is, kind of just wasting air time. No, lead us, please lead us. I like to think of it as what I'm wanting to shift my people from, as to move beyond expert into thought leadership, to move beyond just like I'm transferring knowledge to what else are you doing with this moment? What sort of persuasion are you creating? And so that shift requires us to step into a higher level of risk and vulnerability, to be willing to chart new ground and possibly upset people. Like that's what great leaders do, who are really leveraging the power of speaking. So that's kind of a key shift that I look for, is if you're going to step into speaking, you've got to be willing to move outside the bound of just information sharing into persuasion as a thought leader.
I think that's really important, moving beyond just transferring information into leading some people's vision and thoughts around that. And being that thought leader, that's a really key distinction.
Yeah. And in terms of when Kimberly's asking about the common principles that transcend different audiences, those are all really core. they're about showing up with one of the key things that I think is so important is showing up with a story-driven message. It's really leveraging the power of story. We tend to think stories belong in certain moments and don't belong in other moments, but the truth is we need them for our ideas to attach to something that can be more meaningful for an audience. So the way in which you show up and share a story is going to be way more compelling and engaging and interesting than just showing up and telling us the point of your story. The story helps make what we want to say more meaningful, more interesting, and more persuasive. Ultimately, stories are so needed if we want to persuade people. So that's one of the key principles that whatever audience I'm talking to, whether we're talking about you showing up on social media more, or whether I'm talking about developing a keynote that you want to use to help get your company out there more and your point of view, your expertise out there. It's like, it's not just about everything that you know and all your expertise. It's also about how you show up as a human.
Mm-hmm.
And are we seeing you and seeing your full humanity? Stories are a great way to do that. So stories are one of those key principles. And then I would say what's probably my spikiest point of view is wanting you to show up imperfectly, wanting you to show up despite your humanness. Perfection kills connection, and connection is the point. That Jen's heard me say it a million times. We're going for connection. And what that means is you've got to show up and be a real live human. Like, oh, Sally's has been trying to get that poster on the wall for months and months. And I always forget about it until I get to a moment like this. I'm like, there it is, still sitting on the floor. I haven't got it on the wall yet. You're seeing this. Like, part of speaking is showing up and being seen.
Yeah.
You get to see me as who I am. And I want to be a real live 3-dimensional human for you, not just someone who knows things and is showing up. And speaking tends to bring out the perfectionism within us all.
Mm-hmm.
And because we feel judged in this moment, it feels like a high stakes thing. We think our credibility is on the line. And the truth is that your humanness may be the thing that actually connects you with your audience.
Yeah. And so I just want to like underline, like, the story is what is like the package that all the information comes in. And so it starts to make sense to us. We're like, oh, here is how this is contextual. I mean, just think about why Instagram calls them stories. We're all watching somebody make frothy coffee.
Yeah.
Or we're watching somebody do their workout. I mean, like, and we're like, oh, look at that. We lean in and we're connected. And so I have to, Shelby is here and she is doing like a year of failure, or maybe that's one of her New Year's resolutions. She'll like, but it's been so fun to watch her through this process. And Shelby does a lot of LinkedIn live producing and she has her own show. And, but it's just been fun for her to be like, I'm going to embrace this. And it's part of the story. And then it makes her more endearing. I mean, Shelby's already a delight, but you're like, oh, I want to see how this goes. And it gives me freedom to show up perfectly as well.
Well, and I mean it in the big and small ways. Adam Grant posted something last week that was like about filler words and the ums and the ahs.
Yes, it was such a good post.
Yeah, I thought so too. And not deleting those completely from our speaking, because it's human. It also shows that we're thinking, that we're engaged with the present moment. These are all the reasons why we actually use them in real life. And speakers tend to, and many speaker coaches are like, we're going to get rid of all of those. Okay. Obviously, at some point, sometimes those filler words can be distracting and get in the way of you communicating effectively. But on the whole, let's not worry so much about those, because that's how real people talk. And we want people to be authentic. Well, that means, guess what? You're going to show up and you're going to bring your whole humanness with you. And that means some filler words are included in that. So I am not one of those speaker coaches who wants to polish you up all the way to perfect, because that's not real. And it's actually can be so, I was going to say, like, it's disheartening for the audience.
It is. Well, it's kind of like I can't get there. Or sometimes they get amazed with that person's ability and miss the message of really what you're trying to share. I've seen that happen too.
It feels more like admiration. I admire that person.
Mm-hmm.
That's very different than something that we're going for a little bit more deeply. When I talk about wanting to move your audience, there's a connection there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I recognize my humanity in your humanity. That's what we're going for. This sounds like really deep stuff as we're talking about like being a better speaker as a leader. But ultimately, speaking can be that transformative if we allow ourselves to show up and really speak at that level.
And you do such a great job of helping people do that work. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing, because you are doing a really great event coming up that will help people do these things that we've been kind of talking about, the big whys. And you've got some things to show us how.
Yeah. So next week, I can't believe it's already next week. Next Thursday, February 16th, I'm doing a free live virtual event. It's called Story Plus Impact. And Jen is one of my speakers. Of course she is, because she is brilliant at what she does. But I want her to share some of her story of really embracing speaking in her business, which was a dream that I know you've had for a really long time, Jen, and what's happening as you're doing that for yourself, because it's so, so powerful. But together at this event, we are going to help you get a little more clear on the stories that you can tell and give you the courage to show up and speak more stories in your work as a leader. If you want to do more speaking in your life, this is really essential. We all know stories are important. We aren't exactly sure how to do it or how to really leverage them as part of our speaking as a whole. So that's what we're going to do together.
That's right. And you can find that here. So that's the link. And Ryan, I will try to see if I can do two things at once. I think I might be able to drop it here in the comments. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. It did today. So there you go. You can grab that link there. It is next Thursday.
Yep.
Yes.
8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Time. So I'm sorry for you West Coasters. That is early. That's really early.
It's early.
But I promise it will be a jam-packed, engaging, but it's kind of half inspiration and half pen to paper. We're going to do some kind of workshop-y exercises to help you to, go to the next level with wherever you're at with your speaking.
Awesome. I could spend hours talking about how great Sally is. And so please just check her out. Even if you can't come to the event, go there. There's a great VIP package if you want to do some other things, but follow her on social. Where can we find you to continue to get all these great things about speaking?
Well, as we are here on LinkedIn, I hope you will just come find me over on LinkedIn and connect there. And then the other place I love to spend a lot of time is Instagram. Spend a lot of time on IG, and my handle is SallyZ_BeMoved.
Great. Sally is just a treat and a delight of a human to be around. So please follow her and connect with her. She is just lovely and will give you all kinds of support and help in being the leader who can share their message authentically and with stories in a way that people just connect, as we've been talking about as humans. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you being here.
Jen, thank you for having me. I do want to say you've been one of my students for a long time, and I am just always so freaking proud of you and proud of what you're doing and how you have transformed and worked really hard to take this little dream that you had in the back of your head. It's like, can I really do this? Is this really possible? And you're making it happen. It's happening. You're doing it. And so I'm just really proud of you, and the world needs your voice. They need what medicine you have to give. So,
well, thank you. Thank you for all witnessing my coaching. Oh, thanks again, Sally. I am here every week. Sally will not be joining us next week.
Sorry.
But next week, Karen Laus will be here. We're talking about things that undermine your credibility when you speak in communication. So don't miss it. It's every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern right here. Thanks for being here, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everybody.